You're listening to Lore Friendly. I'm Chris Takahashi, and with me, as always, is Alice Bell.
Hi, guys. It's been a while.
Yes, it has. And for those who are unfamiliar, I am the author of a few NPC mods, and Alice is a voice actor who has voiced many NPCs.
Yes.
Including all your favorite prostitutes.
Oh, yes. A couple of strippers in there, maybe a robot or two. Sometimes I sing. Sometimes I sing badly.
You're in danger of being typecast as a singing prostitute.
I mean, you say that, but that's just my day-to-day life. Like, it's not really acting for me.
Method acting.
Yeah, I take method acting really seriously. Like, I really immerse myself in the roles. So, you'll find me on the street corner with my little guitar, singing Wonderwall whilst flashing my knockers.
Wow, that is an image. You're gonna have to leave the name of the street on the description for listeners.
That can be a Patreon exclusive.
Yeah. Oh, now you're thinking. You're thinking like a businesswoman.
Exactly.
But yeah, before we get too off track, I just want to say, starting with this episode, we're gonna make a few changes to the format of the podcast. We used to just talk about whatever we wanted to, more or less, right?
We pretended to throw some history in there every now and again. That's why it's called Lore Friendly.
Yeah, but I figured it'd be better if we keep the focus more toward Bethesda things, because that's probably how most of the subscribers found us.
Yeah, that's what we're most known for.
And so instead of wasting like half an hour talking about like the guy who had sex with a crocodile, we're going to start by talking about we're gonna start by talking about Bethesda related stuff, mods,
before we devolve into an absolute shitstorm.
Yes, yeah. Before we segue into the things we really want to talk about.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to keep it classy for the first half. You can switch off in the second half. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So from this point on, we're going to try and highlight some mods. We're going to talk about like some of the new Bethesda games or Bethesda related games. And if you don't like that, you can always unsubscribe. But please don't.
Please don't. No. Why would you say that, Chris? Don't encourage them. They only need prompting. So
the first thing I want to talk about is Bethesda's E3 conference, because I feel like that's sort of a big thing that happened.
Woo! E3, we're only like 2 or 3 weeks late.
Yeah, but it's different for us because we're like part of the mod community, so our opinions have weight, Alice.
Kind of. I mean, I guess, yeah.
We're experts.
Are we?
Kind of, yeah. Not really, yeah. Anyways, Bethesda kind of announced a bunch of things that sort of pertain to our interests naturally.
Yes.
And one of them was the new Morrowind DLC for Elder Scrolls Online.
Yes. So, me and Chris have never played Elder Scrolls Online.
No.
I
played once.
Yeah,
like,
you played once.
Maybe like a month ago.
And so we thought, you know what? Why not jump on in? We're friends. We play games together sometimes. We played that awful game of Civ together once. It was great.
Yes.
So we hopped on in, and we were bad.
Is that your review? Game, not sure. Us, bad.
Yeah. I'm still fucking around in Morrowind. And I was fucking around by myself, and I quite enjoy it. One thing I can say is that the Morrowind DLC definitely has more voice actors than, like, the base game of Oblivion. So that's something.
Yeah, the thing about Morrowind is that because there was an original game, there's a template to sort of copy off of.
Yeah.
So they don't have to do anything creative. They don't have to come up with like new cities or like designs for characters.
Yeah, like it's all set out there in the lore, and there's already like a very established aesthetic and things.
It's kind of like video game karaoke. Like the song's already a hit, you more or less just have to sing it. And I think they did pretty good as far as just like they have Seydanine there, they have Vivek, they have Vivek City, they have Balmora, and it all looks exactly the same. So there's kind of like that nostalgia hit.
Yeah, Vivek is so shiny. Like, have you met Vivek in the game yet? Because he is like shiny as fuck. He is like a reflective, polished bit of brass. It's so weird.
Is there too much bling?
Like half of his body is just all bling, and then the other bit's just like obsidian. It's pretty cool. But it's not the kind of look I'd go for. I prefer like a kind of more subtle glow. So
You were judging him the whole time.
Yeah, I was just like, come on, mate, you've applied way too much highlighter. You've got to tone it down a little bit, keep it subtle.
Maybe he's like one of those glamour gods.
Yeah. Yeah, so we played it for a couple of hours together, and we got quite confused because obviously we're pretty much brand new to the game. We're jumping into like a new set of quests and everything like that, and we were trying to figure out all of the mechanics at the same time. We spent like an hour trying to do the same quest.
And that was before I suggested we jump into the Red Mountains together. We were literally trying to kill ourselves playing this game. Although, when I say play, I have to use quotation marks because technically I was just button mashing.
Yeah.
So the thing is, like for me, MMOs are, it's hard to really get immersed in it when like I know like you're standing there like next to me. And it's like the temptation is to just kind of like make dick jokes and just have fun and do goofy shit, and it's hard to really sort of kind of immerse myself into the character and the world. So I think like the game is almost like better played as a single player. I don't know if you had much success as a single player. Immersing yourself.
I've played probably about 7 or 8 hours doing it basically single player, and I did find that I was getting more into the game.
Oh.
But at the same time, you can tell that the creatures and the enemies are definitely scaled for group play.
But you were having, yeah, you just need somebody to role play with you instead of me and my fat Argonian, half naked.
I feel like you were playing the role of a lazy Argonian perfectly.
Yeah. I think I was having a lot more fun with the gestures than the actual game.
Yeah.
Like there's so
many gestures.
You could eat, you could do the thumbs up, thumbs down.
There were so many different kind of dances. Like, it was very telling about, it told you a lot about every different culture, the kind of dance that they had.
Or the culture they were emulated after, I guess. More or less.
Yeah. You can definitely see the influences.
Did you want to look up gestures, or is it more fun to kind of like, because I find it more fun to kind of like just slash type
I enjoy just typing shit in. Like, I found facepalm.
Oh, there's a facepalm?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Unfortunately, there's no / devil horns because Gene Simmons will sue you for copyright infringement.
He's gonna sue you. Sue. That was my cover of Weird Al.
So, like, for those who aren't aware, apparently Gene Simmons tried to copyright the devil horns gesture, and he even went so far as to send, like, diagrams of the gesture.
Wait, what? I didn't see this.
He like sent diagrams of the gesture to the patent office.
Are you shitting me?
It's
what the hell?
It's actually pretty funny. But
That's
luckily,
ridiculous.
But he dropped his suit eventually, from what I read.
Yeah.
And, luckily for him, he can still copyright that tongue thing he does.
It'd be like me copywriting flashing my tits.
Is that something that's in the public domain though?
I mean, it happens on street corners, so...
Oh, that's true.
This is probably going to severely damage my employability chances. I'm an actress, guys. It's fine.
Yes.
I'm just playing a role.
No, you're just... It's just...
Method acting.
So, I think as far as Morrowind, I really like it. MMOs probably just aren't for me. I have a hard time role-playing anything serious when I'm in a group.
Yeah.
I have a hard time playing a character.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
The one who takes it too seriously.
Yeah. Well, I'm the opposite. I'm like the Leroy Jenkins guy who ruins it forever. So.
I don't know. I kind of Leroy Jenkins my way into some guards, and that didn't go very well for me, did it?
We kind of fucked up there was some party of people playing seriously, and we've kind of fucked it up.
Yeah, we kept on accidentally triggering and untriggering the enemy, and they got really pissy at us. I was just waiting for my bounty to fade.
They told us in the chat to leave.
Mm.
Not very politely, I would say.
No, they were just like, it's kind of helpful if you don't do that. We were like, what? What? We waved at them.
Yeah.
And I feel like we made amends.
I gave them the thumbs down before I ran off.
Oh, you cheeky shitbag. That's so rude, Kris. No wonder they were not nice to us.
Yeah.
No wonder they didn't like us.
We don't know the proper MMO etiquette.
If only they knew who we were.
Put some respect on our names.
That's the thing, you got recognized.
I did. By one person.
Celebrity sighting.
I was just standing there near the portal waiting for you to log in. And somebody was like, hey, aren't you the guy from Interesting NPCs? I was like, would you believe me if I said maybe? And they're like, probably. And then I logged off.
Because I was taking it took me like an hour to make my character.
Yeah, I didn't know how long you were going to be there.
Yeah, you could have got stuck with a really awkward conversation.
Yeah, exactly. I figured if I logged off, I wouldn't have to talk anymore. And
yeah, social awkwardness isn't great when you're playing a massive multiplayer online role-playing game.
No, actually, it's good when you're playing online because then you can just log off. If it was real life, like if I just ran out the door, that would be kind of weird, don't you think?
I mean, what's the real-life equivalent of logging off? I think it's just like falling to the ground flat.
No, you're just talking to somebody like, hey, how you doing? Oh, like, how's the weather? And then the guy just like, just turned around and just ran out the door without even answering.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I accept that. I prefer the very definite signaling that I'm not going to want to talk to you, which is lying face first on the ground. That's my favourite way of avoiding people. If I see someone on the street, I'll just lie on the ground. And they'll just look at me for a minute and they're like... Bold. Well. And then they go away.
But see, that's bold because you're still there.
That's more like going AFK, isn't it?
You're still there. Like, they could keep talking to you. They might start poking you or, like, trying to resuscitate you.
Maybe lying down on the ground is more like just going AFK.
What's AFK?
Oh, wait. What? Away from keyboard.
Oh, God.
You're definitely not into MMOs. That's like chat lingo 101. Mind you, I was like an MSN child. I know all of those cool ass acronyms.
I was like, ass, fuck, kick? But, no, see, if you run away, it prevents, like, unless they can, like, shout really loud, it prevents, like...
They could chase after you.
Well, it depends how fast they can run. But the thing about logging off is you can find that perfect moment of awkward silence to just drop the conversation. Whereas in real life, you kind of just have to sit there and stew in it.
Yeah, that's not a good feeling.
Yeah. Before kind of segueing to like, oh, look at the time. And
yeah.
On an MMO, you don't have to say, oh, look at the time. You just log off. You're done.
My favourite is looking down at my phone, even though I never get any texts. I'm just like, oh, sorry, I've got to go now, bye. Nobody ever texts me. It's really depressing. I'm such an antisocial hermit.
I'm trying to figure out.
That was a depressingly awkward silence.
But yeah, anything else from the Bethesda conference? Any other big news? Besides the Creation Club, we aren't going to talk about that.
That's for another thing, maybe.
Yeah, more on that in the future.
I don't think there was anything else really from the Bethesda conference that caught my eye.
Other than another port of Skyrim.
Oh. How many times are they going to re-release Skyrim?
As many as it takes.
It's a great game. I love Skyrim. It's up there as one of my favorite games. But god damn, it's turning into like the Star Wars of video games. The amount of re-release it's had.
Yeah, the thing about Bethesda is they don't like to release or hype something too soon. Like with the case with Fallout, it was announced in June and it was released in November. Yeah. I kind of like that about them.
And they really delayed the Skyrim announcement until they literally couldn't because there was a leak. So they had to start releasing stuff and talking about it.
Right, and so even if like the rumors are true about them like working on a new IP, which is something I hope they are, because let's face it, if you keep doing Skyrim, Fallout over and over again, I mean, Elder Scrolls and Fallout back and forth, like, you're just going to get tired of it.
Yeah.
So I really hope that they do the same type of Bethesda-type game on a new IP. It's probably nowhere near ready yet, and so they're probably not going to announce it until it is.
Yeah, we're not going to find out about what happens with the Old Mary Dominion until at least 2022. That's my bet. I'm placing my bet on 2022 for an announcement about Elder Scrolls 6.
My bet is on a new IP just because I saw this interview with Pete Hines where he was talking about like the development cycle, more or less, right? And he was talking about the developers and their need for creative freedom. And I guess that sort of resonates with me, sort of, because like I get, like, I don't want to say tired of, but like, okay, I've done a bunch of Skyrim mods, then I got like, okay, I want to do something else. So I did a bunch of Fallout mods, and then for me, I want to do something new. Like, man, I hope they come up with a new IP so I can do something new. And I feel like the developers are probably the same way.
Something that's equally moddable.
Yeah, and I think the developers are probably in the same boat where they've done Elder Scrolls, Fallout, and it's just creatively,
it's not a fun rotation.
Yeah, creatively, as much as you love the two franchises and you're gonna revisit them, creatively you kind of want to move on to something different. And with Bethesda, they keep the same developers, right? It's the same developers who worked on all of them. So I don't know. I kind of think that if we're gonna get an Elder Scrolls 6 game, they need to hire new people. As sad as that sounds, new people who are like young and motivated and they want to do Elder Scrolls more than anything, and so that passion is there.
Yeah.
Whereas the current developers are probably like in their 40s and 50s, and they're like, okay, I want to move on to something new.
Yeah, I can understand that. Yeah.
So
I mean, that's the issue with working on such a long-running IP for such a long time. It's like you only have to look at Hideo Kojima, who got so burnt out but was kind of like forced into carrying on the Metal Gear Solid IP by Konami until he got ousted.
It's a cash cow.
Oh yeah. Like if there's an IP
it's really hard to let go.
If there's an IP that makes you tons and tons of money, then you're not going to give that up, but it will get tiring, it will be draining. You will hate yourself.
So if you want Elder Scrolls, I think, to be good, I think they really have to look into just hiring like new blood. I don't know. I mean, it could still be good if they keep the same old people. It's just that they have to have that passion for it. And the one good thing about what they're saying, I guess, publicly, is that we're not going to make it unless we're passionate about it.
Yeah.
Unless we've sort of inspired to make it. So that's a good thing. Like, I don't want to say like, oh, if you're old, you can't do it anymore, or whatever, you can't get it up anymore.
It's if you're not passionate.
Yeah. It's really that. It's really just the passion and the inspiration to do something that really kind of like drives people to make things that are good. Because you care. There's that currency of care that's in there. Oh, that rhymed. I should become a rapper.
That was such sweet alliteration. Currency of care. I'm gonna nick that.
But yeah, are you at all excited for Fallout Skyrim VR?
My computer can't run Fallout 4. There is no way on hell that it will be able to run Fallout 4 VR.
But imagine the possibilities with Skyrim, Fallout VR, and Lover's Lab sex mods. The possibilities are endless.
See, will it come with, like, attachable, like, toys?
I assume you could just use your own toys, right?
I mean, I feel like...
Take a little initiative, Alice.
Yeah, but they're the ones who are re-releasing it. They're the ones who've got to take initiative. They're the ones who've got to make it a selling point.
So that's the next Skyrim release. Skyrim plus Lover's Lab mods plus VR plus VR sex toys. All in one. You're not going to buy it until it comes all in a bundle.
I also want it to come with one of those, like, treadmills that, like, hold you in place. And I also need some air conditioning to make it cold. Like Skyrim.
Well, the thing is that locomotion is, like, the biggest issue with VR. Because if you're not moving, you kind of get headaches or you get nauseated.
Yeah. Because your eyes are telling you one thing and the rest of your body's telling you another thing. So, like, that's why so many people can't play with VR, because it's just so disorientating.
Yeah, and so the solution they have is teleportation, which is kind of immersive breaking. So you're basically like teleporting here and there, and if you teleport, you're not moving, so your body doesn't feel as sick. You don't get as much motion sickness. The good thing that they're doing is that they're giving you an option. So if you're one of those special people who doesn't get motion sickness from walking around without actually doing any walking, you can switch the options from what I heard.
Okay.
Locomotion options.
You see, what I would like is I would like them to release a version of Skyrim. There isn't a version of Skyrim. It's a plane ticket to Iceland.
Okay.
And then you just get to play around in Iceland.
This isn't a video game at all.
I mean, I'm kind of down with living my real life. I'm still skeptical of the whole VR hype.
Real life quests are pretty meh.
I mean, they could just build like a Skyrim-styled theme park in Iceland.
That's what I would like. They need to make a VR theme park for sure.
Well, it doesn't have to be VR. It could be like Disneyland, but for Skyrim. It could be like Westworld!
No, because that actually requires actors. That requires actors and people...
No, we just make robots. Skyrim world.
You make it sound like it's so easy, but you can't, like... You'd have to build sets. You'd have to build this and that. With VR, you can just build it in a virtual world. You see what I mean?
Yeah, but you don't get motion sickness in real life.
No, you wouldn't get motion sickness on the island either because you're on an island. You're actually moving. It's an island... And it's basically just a blank island.
A completely blank island that you wear a headset in.
Yeah, and then that way
what
you can
happens when you run into the sea? Is it going to be like Pokemon Go?
No, there's a sea. There's a sea in the game. It's an island in the game too. But see, that way you can cast magic. You can do things that are beyond real life. If it's Westworld would be cool, but you're still limited by your real life limitations. You're still held back by your real life limitations.
So do you have to be able to, so if you wanted to go into the sea, would you have to be able to swim, or can your character still swim?
Sure.
Like if we're talking about transcending real world limitations, so whilst you drown, your character's swimming.
You could, but you would be pretty stupid to do so wearing an electrical device on your head.
I mean, I'm pretty stupid. I'd definitely test this hypothesis.
It would have to be waterproof, I'm assuming, because if it rains, otherwise, yeah. But I think you'd still be able to go in the ocean. You would probably have to sign a waiver saying that, okay, if I go in the ocean and I die and drown, yeah. I mean, you should still be able to do it, theoretically. It'd be like Skyrim. You go in the ocean in Skyrim, where are you going?
Into a invisible wall.
Eventually, yeah, the game would just shut off, I think, if you got into the ocean. So do you
go into, like, an actual wall? I feel like we should just have people walking into brick walls.
No, because
that they can't see. I mean, they've signed the waiver.
Right. But then you're gonna have to build a brick wall over the whole island. I guess you could do that. You could just surround the island in, like, one of those, like, spheres. Like you know, with those... What do you call those?
Like in Hunger Games.
I haven't seen the Hunger Games. I'm like one of those rare people who haven't seen it.
What? You weird adult person, you not indulging in young adult teenage fiction.
You know, the weird thing about it is that sometimes I'll be bored and I have nothing to do, right? And then I'll be scrolling through the, like, the on-demand stuff on TV, right?
Yeah.
There'll be a ton of Hunger Games things, but I don't know what order it is, because it's not Hunger Games 1, 2, and 3. It's like Hunger Games Mockingjay, Hunger Games. It's just these weird, abstruse names that I can't decipher, and so I don't know what order to watch them in.
Right, well, you need to read them.
Oh,
reading is a lost art.
Yeah, I'm not doing that.
You can't see this, but I am making the...
Slash thumbs down.
Yeah. Slash thumbs down, Chris. Slash face palm.
Yeah, so VR is not for you, more or less. You don't like VR. You want the real thing.
I like real life.
That's the thing.
Kind of.
Real life is just a much, much harder game, and I just prefer to play on easy mode. That's just me.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us are playing on easy mode, are we?
See, with VR, everything's easy. You don't have to be good at anything. You just
have to be able to flail your arms about a little, don't you?
Yeah. So moving on from Bethesda, anything else you liked about E3?
I love the Devolver Digital conference.
Yeah, it has that Adult Swim vibe.
Yeah.
It was really
It was very, like, Alan Resnick-y.
I don't know who
It was just, like, the best kind of satire.
Slash
and
Nodhead.
I loved it. Yeah.
/ nodhead pretend to know what she's saying.
Alan Resnick is a director that they sometimes get up on Adult Swim.
Uh,
So yeah, it was
it had
very
that
something
whole
that he would do.
Tim and Eric Andre kind of vibe.
See, that's where I'm just like nod head, shake head, no, what?
I haven't watched much of those shows, but like that's what I associate with that humor. That kind of just
Yeah.
anti-joke where it's like really, really awkward and you're supposed to laugh at that.
Yeah, it was like the joke went on for so long and it was just amazing. I loved it. It took everything that was bad about your generic E3 conference and just exploded it to grotesque proportions, and it was amazing.
Any games that you like?
I am quite interested in the new Star Wars Battlefront because it looks like it actually has a campaign.
Yeah, single player campaign.
So that'll be fun. Instead of like the first one of the rebooted series where it was just multiplayer. Like that was bad.
Mm.
And then there was okay, so I was looking up stuff today. There was a 4K version of Minecraft.
You're excited for that?
It was Minecraft in 4K. I couldn't tell the difference. I think the only difference was like in the lighting effects. Like the lighting was nice, but other than that, it was just Minecraft. I don't get it.
Yeah, I think that's the joke. It's more or less, hey, it's 4K Minecraft, haha.
Yeah, but it was in the official Microsoft conference.
That's the thing, it's like post-ironic humor. Like, it's just...
I don't think Microsoft are capable of humor. They called their new Xbox the Xbox X.
I mean, it's at the point where it's like self-aware humor. It's like when Bethesda releases new DLC and they call it horse armor. It's like, which is what they're doing with a Fallout 4 mod for like power armor. They're calling it horse armor. It's kind of like, oh, we're self-aware, get it? They also released the mud crab, or they're gonna release a mud crab with dwarven armor. And
yeah, but that kills the joke. When the companies are in on it, you can't own the internet's mockery.
Right.
That's why we do it.
But that's what it is, more or less. Like, people are 4K Minecraft, ha ha ha.
I think you're giving Microsoft too much credit there, but, you know, it's a thing now. 4K Minecraft. And then there was the prequel to Life is Strange was announced.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because Life is Strange is based mainly around the mechanic of being able to reverse time.
Right.
And that's not going to be possible in the prequel for story reasons. So it's going to be interesting how they work that out. And also, here's the transition. The original voice actor for Chloe has been replaced, and so Ashley Birch stated publicly that she's not reprising her role due to the Screen Actors Guild / American Federation of Television and Radio Artists strike.
Yeah, is
There's
that
your
still
transition,
going on?
bitch.
Yeah. Is that still going on? Because it feels like they've been striking for a while, and like a lot of video games have come out.
It's apparently the longest actors strike in history. It's been going on for 183 days. So I had to do some research into like the background of this because all I knew was that I shared a tweet that said performance matters on it from David Hayter. So let's educate the children. This is where we get informative.
Okay, no, go ahead. Because I'm uneducated. I know nothing about this.
So the Screen Actors Guild and the American Federation of Television and Radio Artists merged in 2012 as film actors began to take on more roles in video games. So that's like Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty and more infamously Keith Sutherland replacing David Hayter in Metal Gear Solid 5. And in joining these two forms of acting, video games and films have different rules regarding residual royalties. So residual royalties are royalties that go to the performer based on the profits of the property that they're in. So film and screen actors get additional payment for their performance dependent on the success of their film, whereas voice actors in video games don't. The video game industry is just completely unregulated in that
So
kind of regard.
basically this is all about residuals. Right now, voice actors get paid like a lump sum, right, for their services.
Yeah, they get paid per hour in the recording booth. I think it was something like $800.
Right, and
per
they
month.
want a percentage of the income that's made from selling the game, like most film actors do.
Yeah, so like the one example that I managed to find was Michael Hollick, who played Nico, my cousin Nico, in GTA 4. He received $100,000 for his performance, which sounds like a lot of money, because it is.
It does. It is.
But the game made $600 million in its first 3 weeks, and that's not counting any sales after that.
Yeah, people get, for some reason, they get like, they side with management in cases where the employees kind of, like, it happens in sports a lot. Like, an athlete will make $1 million and they'll be like, well, you made $1 million. Like, why are you bitching, right?
Yeah.
But like the owner makes like $1 billion.
And it's like, no, because the performers, they're not the face of the game, but they're definitely what's remembered for the game. Like, you can have a perfectly programmed game, but if you've got shitty voice acting, that's what they're going to remember it for. That's what's going to be mocked online. Like, you can have glitches and bugs and things like that, but people don't remember the glitches and bugs in Oblivion, do they? They remember the buy a Zora, buy a Zora, buy a Zora. It's the grand champion.
That is pretty memorable. The other weird thing I've seen is people saying, well, the developers are underpaid too, and they work like a lot more hours, and it's like, oh, because they're underpaid, that voice actors should be underpaid too, and that's kind of just like a weird argument to make. Like,
that's like reverse communism.
Yeah, it's just it's like everybody should have like shitty compensation. So yeah, I totally get the strike, and this is probably one of the consequences.
Yeah,
like, I don't know if it's the first, but it's one of the like real consequences that have happened, is that like the voices that like you're familiar with, like people, they're changing actors and stuff, and that's like a real kind of thing that like every player can like understand.
Like Life is Strange is the first big casualty of this strike.
Whereas before, you're kind of like, just hire someone non-union and they'll get it done. But like now it's like, oh my god, that's not her voice, that's the wrong voice. And it's like,
like people recognize performers. Think about the uproar when David Hayter was released.
Yeah.
I'm still bitter.
Hashtag not my snake.
Not my snake. But because the voice acting industry doesn't have any real regulation in terms of royalties. They're also expanding it to include roles that are vocally taxing, so roles that take on a lot of shouting or screaming or a lot of vocal alteration. So take the Argonians, for example, with their kind of raspiness. There's no regulations on how long people have to be in the recording booth at a time, and that's like an Argonian voice or a croaky voice or shouting, that's incredibly vocally taxing, and if your voice isn't looked after properly, then that can cost you roles in the future. And then there's also NDAs that can often leave actors in the dark as to what games they're performing for, what role they're performing for, or what they can even put on their resume after they've recorded the lines, because NDAs are so strict in the industry. So a lot of the SAG-AFTRA talks have been revolving not only around royalties, but around care for the actors and around transparency for the actors. And so
it's the same is true for developers, where they have these like deadlines and cycles, and they basically overwork everybody.
Well, it's like the video game industry is really unregulated and ununionized because it came out of the tech sector, and so a lot of people are saying that their companies themselves are really worried that if they bow down to the SAG-AFTRA talks, then that's going to lead to increased unionization within the industry that will mean that their developers have to be better looked after. So they're kind of scared of that.
It's the whatchamacallit, slippery slope thing argument.
Slippery slope onto reasonable working conditions. How awful.
You know what the problem is too is that video games themselves, the prices for them haven't really gone up with inflation. Like they're way too cheap right now for a game that could take you like, I don't know, 100 hours to complete is going to cost you like $50-$60, whereas like a movie ticket is going to be $10 for like 2 hours,
not including popcorn.
And so yeah, I think if you account for inflation, like games should actually be like $100 when compared to like the 1980s, because in the 1980s you could buy a role-playing game for like $49.99, and now it's 2017 and the same game, like,
it's the same price
times it's actually a lot cheaper.
Yeah, it's the same. It's like the price is the same, but the inflation has gone up.
Yeah, granted, there's a lot more video game consumers than there were previously, but I still think they're underpriced. I still think like a good long game should cost like at least $89.99. I know that sounds like a lot.
You've
but
just given me like a mini heart attack.
The other thing is people buy all the games on
sale,
like, for discounts on Steam. Yeah, on sale. And so they're just like, people in general are just like, they're so used to paying a certain amount for games that it's going to be really hard to break that cycle. And that's part of the reason why there's not enough money to pool from. And that's why everybody is so underpaid, I think.
I'm going to be really interested to see how this all turns out. Like, it has received widespread support, not just from American-based organizations, but from, like, around the world. A lot of international organizations, like ones based in Britain and Canada and Australia, they're standing in solidarity even though they're not formally on strike. They've said that their actors in their guilds aren't going to take on any of the roles that have been left absent by the American strike. So this is like a real kind of unity. And if the guild gets what they want, if they get even like slightly extra rights for their performers, then we could be seeing like a huge change in the industry as a whole. Like in terms of crunch really times and things. It's gonna be definitely interesting to follow.
It really depends how many people are willing to cross that picket line, which I imagine are a lot.
Apparently they've been wavering.
I cannot blame a voice actor. This is like the opportunity of a lifetime to get like on like one of their favorite games, and all they have to do is cross a picket line. It's just, I don't know if I could blame an actor for doing that.
I wouldn't be able to blame them, but the fact that they are standing in solidarity at the moment is pretty impressive. Like, I'm happy.
It's just that the odds of getting one of these kind of jobs is like
it's become saturated.
1%. Yeah, it's like 1/10%.
Yeah.
And so if you're getting the opportunity to kind of get in the business, but the downside is if you do cross that picket line and then the guild does more or less settle with the publishers, you're going to be basically ostracized from the community, maybe. Yeah, so you do have to weigh that. It's not all opportunity, but it's just, there are downsides for being a scab, as they call it. That is an interesting term. You're not the skin, you're just the temporary replacement
thing that can be ripped off.
Cells. So, as promised, we're gonna highlight some mods that we found that we like. Did you want to go first? I got like 4 of them, so
I got one.
Like to talk about.
And it's named after me.
Is it?
No.
What is it called? Who's the author?
This is called Bells of Skyrim by Vermunds. And it's a tiny little addition in the grand scheme of things, but it's one of those little lore-friendly mods that just fleshes out the world a little bit more. Because let's face it doesn't make sense that if you're getting arrested in Skyrim, everybody comes after you with no real warning system. So what Bells of Skyrim does, it adds bells into different cities in Skyrim that go off if you're fighting a dragon, or if you're fighting the gods, or if they're being attacked.
Uh-huh.
So it's a tiny little thing. It's a tiny little addition, but it's a Just like a little bit of...
It makes sense.
Yeah, it's just like a little bit of extra lore immersion. Which I just thought was a really good, tiny idea. That just adds.
These are huge bells, too.
Oh, I love a good pair of bells. Ding dong.
Did you find this mod by searching for your name? That's how Bells of Skyrim.
I mean, I do Google my name pretty frequently.
You should come up with a mod for this mod called Alice Bells of Skyrim.
Do we just replace the bells with like a texture of my face?
Yeah. And then when you ring it, it goes ding ding ding
ding ding ding dong.
Yeah, use that audio. Use that audio, modders.
There we go. There, we've pitched you a great idea. That's going to be perfect for you.
But instead of like an alarm bell, it could be like a dinner bell or something.
Ding ding.
Or like a wedding bell.
Do 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 do.
If you name your kid, would you name them Wedding Bell? Or Dinner Bell? Or Alarm Bell? I think if they were named Alarm Bell, they would be like stoned to death. Because people would hate them so much.
I'd name them Ring My.
Ring My Bell. Oh, the middle name could be
Yeah.
My. The first name could be Ring.
Or I might hyphenate it.
Although now that I'm thinking about it, like you would have to like marry somebody with the last name Bell.
No, I wouldn't. This is the 21st century. I don't have to change my last name for no man.
That's true, you wouldn't.
I am a strong, independent woman who is maybe going to keep the last name Bell if my future partner has a shitty last name.
Yeah, they could have the last name Mai, and then you can hyphenate
Yeah.
it, like John Mai, and then it's Alice My Bell, and you can name it Ring My Bell, and it would
Yeah,
work.
that could work. Good thinking. I'll bear that in mind when I'm looking for a partner. Unfortunately, Tinder does not show you people's last names.
Would that be weird? Does that make you like feel a little weird if they have the same last name? Because that's a little weird for me because it's the last name Takahashi is like it's rare enough in America where that would like oh yeah, the same last name. It's like a little bit incestuous.
I mean,
Like if you were Martin Septim and like you're the only Septim in all of Tamriel and you meet somebody named Martina Septim, you're like, oh, your
oh
last
dear,
name's
what
Septim
kind of
too.
terrible fan fiction have I wandered into?
Yeah. So with that, like, is that weird or is there like enough bells where it doesn't matter?
I'm not actually sure how many bells there are. I've never really encountered another bell. I would be a bit weirded out maybe if I ended up going out with someone with my last name. Because we have a pretty widespread family from what projects that I've done and stuff.
You would like demand to see their family tree first. Bring it to your first date.
I have heard a lot of stories of accidental cousin incest, and that is not a path that I want to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a path anyone wants to go down.
Yeah. So what are your mods?
Yeah.
On that bombshell?
Well, the first mod I found that was interesting that I thought, okay, this is a good idea. It's probably been done before. Now that I Google it, it's been done for other Fallouts, but there's a new mod that was released a day ago that's called Delay DLC, which what it does is it kind of like normally the DLC like Far Harbor Nuka World, it's kind of just like pops into your quest folder like immediately
for no real
like,
reason
once you install. Yeah, and so what this does is kind of like delay it and put it on your terms. Like Far Harbor doesn't start until you click on the radio message. Automatron Nuka World, they don't start right away. It's authored by BoniBoyBlue. One of the things that I do think it needs to kind of like polish up is if you do want to start the DLC, like the solution is to disable the plugin.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that doesn't sound
Yeah.
like a very streamlined. I do think though with like Nuka World, you don't have to disable the plugin. You just have to go to the Nuka World transit station. So I think some of these quests can be started on your own. But ideally, how I would like to start DLC is just of my own accord when I'm ready. I don't like things in my quest journal that are there without being prompted by my character.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Another mod that I liked was a mod that has 7 endorsements as well. It's Dead Moon by Meysam. And it's probably immersion breaking, but what it does is it replaces the normal moon with a moon that's been like exploded, shattered. It's pretty cool
Ooh.
looking. Yeah. Yeah.
Ooh,
I
that
thought that was
sounds
pretty cool looking. It was inspired by the Oblivion moon, it says. So was there a shattered or destroyed moon in Oblivion? I don't remember.
I'm not sure. I don't think so. There was a moon that was like red and lava-y, wasn't there?
Hmm.
Maybe that's just like
Maybe.
a natural conjecture.
I don't think it's immersive or like I mean I don't think it's realistic, I should say, because I think if the moon got destroyed, it would just like fuck up everything on Earth. I mean,
Yeah.
like it's responsible for the tides, right? So without the moon, I don't know what happens, but it still looks cool though, and that's all that really matters. It's kind of like armor that looks
Yeah.
cool and has like skin showing everywhere. You're just trying to look cool. You're not trying to do anything.
I don't know, I'm kind of
Realistic.
more a lore-friendly kind of gal.
Yeah. Me too, actually. I'm not a fan of skin armor, but I am a fan of armor that looks good over armor that protects you. Like if the armor's ugly and it's like has like better defense, I'm gonna go with the armor that looks cool, has lower defense.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, I'm kind of the same. I always stuck with like the Dark Brotherhood armor that I got at level 1.
Yeah, you gotta look
Yeah.
good. I mean, looking good means different things to different people, but you still gotta look good while you're roaming. I mean, wherever Skyrim are the ways. And the last mod that I want to highlight is Tomato Soup by Tapchek. It basically just adds a can of tomato soup to the game, which isn't
Who doesn't
very...
like tomato soup?
The thing about it might not be lore friendly either, because in Fallout there's a hybrid of potatoes and tomatoes, which are called tatoes, but there's no tomatoes. But this guy's like, fuck that, I'm gonna put a can of tomato soup in the game, and if you don't like it, well, fuck off.
I love soup, sorry.
And I did look for one other mod, but it was not on a Nexus.
Is this a sex mod?
I should probably tell the whole story. So,
Go ahead.
okay, so there's a basketball team that's owned by Microsoft. Well, it's owned by Steve Ballmer, he's the CEO for Microsoft, right?
Yeah.
And their mascot is a condor. It's a big, like, ugly looking condor, and it makes no sense. So, like, somebody on Reddit was saying, like, it's a Microsoft owned company, and they're named the Clippers. Why isn't their mascot named Clippy? And everybody knows who Clippy is, right? It's the paperclip.
Yeah.
That helps you in like Windows or whatever whenever you're having problems. And so someone chimes in, they're like, well, no, you can't use Clippy, it's not safe for work. And you're like, how the fuck is Clippy not safe for work? It's like friendly, it has those little googly eyes, it's kid friendly, right?
Yeah.
And then they're like, here's why, and then they put a link. And so apparently there's this author by the name of Leonard Delaney who's written this book called Conquered by Clippy, starring none other than our helpful Microsoft assistant. And you have actually purchased this book, is that correct?
Yes. So, when people give me money on Patreon, this is where it goes.
So you're an expert. You already have all the answers, but for someone like myself and the audience who I assume hasn't read the book, I mean, the first question that comes to mind really is how? Like, how does a paperclip even have sex?
Well, apparently he just uncoils to become, like, a little thin little rod.
That seems kind of dangerous, don't you think? Like, what if you fully uncoil and your eyes fall
He
down?
only uncurls up to the very last curl, and that's where his eyes are. God.
I'm glad that the author kind of thought this through before writing. In fact, I think there's like, you were telling me earlier, there's an entire story involved, right?
Yeah.
Like, it has an actual protagonist. I think her name is Christy Ackerland.
Yes.
But it's not just this book. It's actually part of a longer series of books with the same protagonist.
Yeah.
But the thing about the series is none of the books actually make any sense. It's like we talked about this before when we were chatting, but there is a version where they're where Christine, poor Christine, it's Christine in every book, but Christine is taken by Tetris blocks.
That was the first one.
Yes, that sort of makes sense because Tetris blocks kind of resemble like penises, right?
The T block, definitely.
Yeah. You can imagine a scenario where Christine walks into like a building and suddenly like blocks are falling down, and then the only way she can save herself is to like spread her legs and take in the blocks.
I feel like they'd have to fall up for that. I mean, that's how human anatomy works, right?
Yeah, pretty much. But then that's not how gravity works.
But that's also not how Tetris works. Tetris doesn't have people having sex with the blocks
maybe
in
Christine is she's like a gymnast and she's doing a handstand. And that's how she basically takes the blocks. Is she like, you know, she gets on her hands and she's like, I'm gonna take these blocks to save the earth. And yeah, so that sort of makes sense. But then we go down the line to see some of the other books in
Clippy.
Yes, the Clippy. You've pretty much answered how Clippy has sex.
Clippy.
You basically bought. I can't believe you bought the book, but you did for $2.99. I assume.
I did. The sacrifices I made.
You actually gave this guy money for this trash erotica.
Yeah, I did, didn't I? And I can't refund
the
it.
Sacrifices you make for this podcast. The next book in the series is called Invaded by the iWatch, which I don't understand how. Like, it's a watch. Okay, how does that work? Like, do people even have iWatches? Is that even, like, a relevant book?
I don't think iWatches are actually a thing. I think they're just something that was made up by Apple. I've never seen one.
People play, like, Tetris. They're familiar with, like, the mechanics here. But the iWatch, I don't think they would get the reference, right?
I mean, I don't know who the audience for this is.
Yeah, then there's, like, ones like Cokes by the copyright page, which, okay.
Wait, what?
It's a picture of her naked holding the Creative Commons sign, I think. And then the last one, which is really meta, rammed by the reviews for this book.
Do you think we could make a cameo in his next book?
You can try.
If I send him this podcast.
I think you can try. You can also tweet the author because there is a book called Fingered by Twitter.
Oh my god. Oh my god. So Chris, we're gonna tag him in this when we share it on Twitter, right?
So if you want to be a part of Leonard's next novel, write a review. Send him a tweet.
Christ, what if I become the voice of Christy?
You'll have to ask Leonard. But yeah.
Yo, Lenny boy, the pipes are calling.
So, long story short, if you want to find a mod for Clippy, don't look on Nexus. Look on the Lover's Lab.
Just go on Amazon. Just go on Amazon.
Yeah. You can even write your own fan fiction.
Use your imagination.
I personally can't wait for the sequel where Christy leaves Clippy for the wealthier, more expensive Prada version. So yeah, before we get into the last part of our show, any special shout-outs you want to make?
So, shout out to A.G. Bell, who isn't me. They just have the exact same initials as me. Emma Alcaldi, sorry if I messed up your name. John, and Scott. Thank you for being people. People are nice.
And special thanks to all the Patreon donors who you'll see in the credits. Scrolling up now. And if you like Lore Friendly and our other shows, Load Disorder and Coming Soon Modcast,
Ooh.
please like and subscribe. And now, without further ado, the part you've all been waiting for. An excerpt from the, I'm going to say, Nobel Prize winning novel, Conquered by Clippy, performed by Alice Bell.
So, Christy Ackland has just gone into a cave, and her and this obnoxious parody of Bill Gates called Phil Gates have just found a massive array of servers in this cave with Clippy. And so Phil Gates has just been squashed by these servers in a pretty gruesome scene. But that's not the fun bit. So, Christy looked down, and she saw that the loose end in the middle of Clippy's coil was sticking out. It was red and glowing at the end, as if his rod had been stuck in a fire. Clippy had a boner. "You've been programmed to be very human," she said. "Humans have certain needs. You already helped me by saving my life. How about I help you for once?" "I'm not sure what you mean," he said. She reached out and grabbed his glowing red end. It was hot, but not too hot. He uncurled further at her touch. "I'm micro-hard," he muttered. She smiled with one side of her mouth, then got on her knees. Unlike an actual paperclip, the end of his coiled body was rounded, and it felt smooth in her mouth. As she lapped and sucked and tongued it, it became even redder and hotter. Her own human body part, in brackets, vagina, felt hot too. Still sucking, she eased herself out of her jeans. When she allowed herself a glance up, his bulbous eyes were rolled back, the steel eyebrows arched with pleasure. She stopped. "What are you?" "Shh," she whispered, as she leaned back against one of the still standing stacks of servers. She took off her blouse. Now only in her frilly red undergarments, she rested against the servers, spread her legs, and began rubbing the wet spot in her panties. "Would you like me to assist?" "Shut up, Clippy." Christy's delicate fingers delicately pulled her panties aside, then began rubbing her clit, vagina, and genitals. With her other hand, she reached behind her back and struggled to get her bra off. "Would you like me to—" "Shut the fuck up, Clippy." Finally saying that out loud turned her on so damn much. She got the bra off, and her perfectly engineered breasts popped free, with nipples like eager little puppy noses. As she brought herself to the edge of female orgasm, Clippy uncoiled further, and the red glow spread higher up his shaft. His eyes slid to stay near the coiled part of his body, but remained firmly fixated on Christy. She ripped her panties off and tossed them aside as she arched her back, so close to coming, but the frustration of not quite getting there must have shown on her face. "Would you like—" "Yes, Clippy, assist me hard." He uncoiled almost immediately, so he was a straight rod with only a little curl at the top for his eyes to attach to with magnets or whatever. The length of his metal shaft glowed with digital passion. He sprung forward, bounced into the air, and landed inside Christy's lady socket. She exploded with orgasm juice immediately, bubbling around the tip of Clippy's glowing rod. Clippy moaned with his bouncy little voice. "Assist me deeper," Christy commanded. He complied, pushing more of his delightfully hot in temperature body inside of her, thrusting with a strength that only alien technology could power. Let's skip ahead a little bit to my favourite line. "It looks like you're trying to reach orgasm. Can I assist you in doing butt stuff?" And finally, as she spurted lady butter all over Clippy, she briefly remembered her mission. She felt both of her holes fill up with whatever substance paperclips emitted. She hoped this didn't make her pregnant again.
Wow. I need a cigarette.
Now, see, I skipped through the rest of it to see if there was any more funny erotica. There wasn't. It was just disturbing. So, the guy who got killed by the servers, comes back as a robot, and then, it turns out that this was all part of a scheme so that Christie would write a nice article about Clippy and the robot so that they would be freed from some evil corporation's imprisonment. And they felt the best way to do that was not by having the human-looking robot having sex with her and giving her orgasms with butt stuff, but by getting the paperclip to do it.
I like that there was a story behind all the
There
pointless
was.
sex.
Let's go on about some stupid news.
Okay.
So, see, you shared the Gene Simmons story with me before.
Yeah.
So, let me read you this headline. Man has metal rings cut off his penis by fire brigade after sexual experiment goes wrong. According to reports...
What?
Wirrett, who unsurprisingly didn't want to give his last name, had been pleasuring himself at home when the unfortunate accident occurred. 2 of the metal rings he was using for his experimental masturbation technique somehow slipped onto his penis, and he was left in agony. The 33-year-old rushed to Pattaya City Hospital after his manhood began swelling, when its blood circulation was seemingly cut off by the foreign objects.
Oh, what the fuck? I don't want to talk about
But
this.
the job was too difficult for surgeons, who had to call in firefighters to help.
Oh, why do I don't want to hear about this. I don't want to talk about this. This hurts.
One of the fire officers said, "We had to be careful not to hurt his penis because the rings were stuck very tightly. We don't know how long he had the ring on his penis before he went to hospital. The doctors tried first, then we arrived at 1 p.m. and it took us around 30 minutes to remove it. We used small cutters." The man said thank you. He would not give details exactly what happened.
We're gonna need the small cutters for this one.
The tiny ones. Maybe some cuticle ones. They might be the right size.
Oh, God.
So did that make your penis retreat into itself a little bit?
Ah, it's gone. It's
gone.
I don't
you
have one
you have
anymore.
foo-foo now.
Yeah, I'm gonna need really tiny cutters at this point.
Yes.
Oh man.
But that's your fun story for the day.